Pelo tshweu, white hat. Pelo namahadi, female hat. Pelo ntle, beautiful hat. Compassion. My name is Unity Dow, and welcome to my show, Things That Matter, brought to you by TDA Tele Radio. In the studio with me, I have
Charity Hiscox.
welcome. Compassion, defined in those terms, brought by a white hat, a beautiful hat, a female hat.
Mm.
Tell us about that. What does compassion mean to you?
Compassion to me is love.
Okay.
It's what's wake me up every morning.
Mhm.
It's what makes who am I. It's compassion to me.
Often, when we think about compassion, we think about giving material things, giving money, big houses. Is that what it is for you?
No, it can be my time. It can be my ears just coming to sit with you and listening to you. That is compassion, because we are living in a very busy world where everybody is busy. Sometimes all people want is just somebody to sit down with and just listen to them without giving them any suggestions of how they should run their lives, but just to give them that listening ear.
When we were talking and we're thinking about what you believe compassion to be and how you live, I believe you live a compassionate life, by the way. That's why I invited you to the studio to talk about this today. It seemed that we are agreeing that COVID environment really brought this issue even much more to the fore. Would you say that?
Yes, definitely. And this is the time whereby we need each other more than we have ever needed each other. People are losing jobs, people are going through, they can't pay school fees, they can't buy even food. And this is whereby I have to be my brother's keeper. I have to check on my neighbor. Is my neighbor okay? Have they had any food today? How God has made us, and God Himself is compassion. And He said He has made us in His image. So we are actually just being what we were created to be.
I want to explore this further because I really want to maybe if you share with us what you do, we can begin to see, what do you mean by these values that you hold around compassion, holding nations together, compassion being creating, at the anchor for the creation of peace and harmony. What do you do? Tell us what you do.
I,
Who are you?
who is Charity? Okay.
Yes.
Charity, like I said, charity is compassion. And charity loves, and charity loves giving and helping somebody. That's what makes charity happy. That's what makes charity go to bed and can sleep peacefully. And hence, what I do on a daily basis. I run an NGO called Tapelong Empowerment Trust.
Again?
Tapelong Empowerment Trust.
Tapelo, what does Tapelo mean, by the way?
Tapelo means a place of prayer. And why the name Tapelong is because I love prayer. I live prayer. And I think, you know, in life, somebody, all of us, there has to be something that you have anchored yourself to. And I've anchored myself to prayer. and hence it was automatic that the place that I'm going to show my compassion, it is also going to be a place whereby if somebody needs a prayer, they can come and receive a prayer. That's why.
So tell us more about this organization that you run.
Okay, Tapelong is an empowerment trust. We we are BQ accredited in all hospitality courses. And why hospitality courses? Because I'm a chef, I love food, and I wanted to share my experience of food with impact that skill by empowering other. Our mandate is youth, women, and the disabled. That as much as you are maybe unfortunate in life, that does not mean it's the end of everything. You can still gain a skill and make an income for yourself, and by so doing, it takes away the abuses. It gives you a sense of responsibility and identity when you do things for yourself.
I also know that you feed about 130 kids in your neighborhood. Is that correct?
Yes.
And about maybe 80 homes.
50
families.
50 families, 30 of them are the elderly that stay alone, and 20 it is just people that have fallen into.
Are you rich?
No, I'm not.
Okay.
I'm not. I'm far from being rich, but I think I'm rich in the sense that I'm able to help. And I think that's where I define my richness, that I can be able to give somebody a plate of food, even me not necessarily being there in their house, but they can cook every day, and I've provided for that.
So tell me about the 130 or so children that you feed.
We have
Your organization is in a village, is that correct?
Yes, it is. We have partnered with a primary school called Radicali Primary School in Boka, and they were the ones that picked the children that we were going to be helping on daily basis. We help them with after school they come to us, we feed them, and we try and help meet their needs where possible.
So where do you get the money? I mean, these are tough times.
Yes, they are tough times.
So I'm assuming that you need a network of people who think like you, who are able to bring this resource to the table so you can share. Is that correct?
Yes, exactly. We have some companies that we are in partnership with, that they help us on monthly basis, so that we are able to do this, because I couldn't do it by myself. Definitely, I have people that I work with, and even the ladies that help with the cooking. All of us, we are a team, and we make it happen on a daily basis.
What makes you want to do this? I mean, like people run fast so that they're number one, and they get an award. I'm a lawyer, so I want to argue that case and win it. Somebody is a teacher, they want their kids to actually do well in their classroom. But when you now decide that I'm going to share either my time, my resources, my skills with other people I don't even know, what makes you want to do that?
I think, like I said, I think that is charity in a nutshell. Charity is doing what charity does best, and what charity is good at, and what makes charity wake up every morning.
I mean, they say it's one of that give a child a name and they will live it. Do you think they
Yes,
gave
I
you
think it's something, the name.
they gave you that name,
Yes.
charity? You had no choice.
I have no
And you had
choice.
no choice.
I have to live it.
You have to live it. I thank you very much. As a lawyer, okay, I believe that the majority of people are good. I've always believed that. That's why, most people are outside prison and few are in prison. I believe that, but then there are always this small group of who are bad. So even in compassion, I believe that the majority of people are compassionate. Different levels of compassion, but they are compassionate. But occasionally you find the minority that are greedy, that are, they don't care about communities around them, around you. Do you meet such people in your work?
Yes, that I think in every work there is the good, the bad, and the ugly, and you will have that. And the most important thing is to be able to know how to work with them and still be firm. Not allowing yourself to be abused in the process, but being able to help and pick the genuine from the fake.
Okay. With that, Madam Charity, who had no choice but to be charitable, I'm going to ask you for you to roll back a little bit about your family situation. You told me you had two mothers. I mean, how does it, I know that's Africa, but anything is possible in this continent. I think you grew up in a unique household, or in the sense that in some ways, I think that also gave you even more strength.
Yes.
Knowing that you have two women who are, you can call mother and depend equally on them. So can you, which is, it's a story of Africa in some ways. Yes. Tell me about maturity and maturity.
Yes. Oh, I was brought up by two great women, and they they were selfless. And I'll give you an example. I was just thinking of my mom, my other mom today, Macharity, which I call Macharity. Macharity was my biological mother. And then my other mom, who was my aunt, I was calling her Osmagi because she was called Margaret. And so I never had anybody that I was calling mom. But when I was talking to Macharity, she will always say, "Go and talk to your mother." And and Usmagi was has never referred, when she was talking to me, to Macharity as my mother. She was seeing herself as my mother, and we are very close. And I remembered in 2019 they were both admitted in hospital. They are both have passed away. May their soul rest in peace. And I had to go and go to one ward and wash this one and go to the other. And I remember on this particular day, Macharity, I was talking to the security, trying to negotiate to get in because time was up. And she said, no. She, from the background, she was shouting and saying, tell her, no, don't come here, go and help your mother. I've got many people here to help me. And to me, that was selfless. And with Osmagi, she was amazing. I lived in England. I was forced, I had no choice in the matter, to be buying some kids in Cheshire foundation that I didn't even know. I now be called to say, it's Christmas, we need Christmas clothes. It's winter, we need to buy winter clothes. And the amazing thing was, when she passed on and we were going through her stuff, and I could see she was a very good administrator. And she had written everything, accounting all my money that I had been sending her, what she has bought. And that to me was so, I was touched by that. And it taught me that, in life, you need to be able to account for what people give you. And that I'm taking it even to Tapelon, to be able to say, I've been given 12.5 and I can show where the 12.5 of Paliche has gone to. You need to be a good steward of what has been trusted.
To live your values.
Yes.
To live your values. You were shared by two incredible women, and perhaps that's why you share yourself with the world so, magnanimously. And with that, Charity, let's go for a break. Things that matter, what compassion in Setswana rare. We say pelo tshweu, meaning a white hat. We say pelo ntle, meaning a beautiful hat. We say peluna mahadi. When somebody's generous, we say they have a female hat. Things that matter. Okay.
All right, that was good.
That's good.
That was good.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we're gonna come back again.
We'll come back again and then we talk about global examples when we think compassion has failed.
Yes.
Because I'm bringing from the personal to the global. To talk about when we have wars. So I believe that wars are examples of when compassion has failed.
Yes.
Poverty,
Mm.
is an example of when compassion has failed because the world has enough, so nobody's poor. So that is an example of when the world has failed. So really talking about and also talking about the fact that often we think compassion is only personal. We're even embarrassed by it. We're embarrassed by to show and declare love, and compassion because we believe that there are personal issues, but it's that's what builds families, builds communities, builds nations, builds the globe. So do we think there's room, to even teach compassion in classrooms, and how do you teach it? Because you cannot preach it, you must demonstrate it. So maybe I take it from there.
Okay, cool.
Is that good?
That's really good.
Is it just 2 segments is fine? Or is it 3 segments?
2, and then we come to round out like the third segment just to
It
round
can be
out.
3 segments. No, that's fine. I just want okay. All right. It's okay. Okay. I think we're ready to roll again.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm going to cue you then.
Hmm?
When we start.
You cue me.
Mhm.
Okay.
Rolling in 3, 2, 1, action.
Welcome back to Things That Matter. Belusweu, White Hat. We continue our discussion on compassion. With me in the studio is Mrs. Charity Hiscox. Ma'am, we're talking about compassion. We're talking about at a personal level. And I want to suggest to you, and find out if you agree with me, that the angst, the pains of the world are a demonstration of failed compassion, or when we failed as a humanity to be compassionate. Would you agree with me on that?
Yes, definitely. And because if there hadn't been wars, we wouldn't have, there would have been solution to other problems except going to war. And because we didn't show that love, we didn't show that communication, that dialogue. We were more focused on ripping each other off rather than building each other. And I think if we go to that end of, coming to that point whereby we now don't see the value of building each other, but tearing each other up through war, it doesn't, I think we are failing in that case.
So you see violence, as a failure in compassion.
Yes, it
violence
is.
at family level,
Yes.
in communities, in global level. That's interesting. I mean, I guess one has to agree with you.
And I think it is in the lack of communication, and the family values that are now, we are now in dysfunctional communities, dysfunctional families, whereby we don't talk things out as we should be. And one of the things that I really like with our Setswana culture, they always say, "Ntwa ke ya molomo," meaning, let's talk things out rather than going to war. And that is compassion, for you to have that extra mile of sitting down and trying to resolve
And to understand
issues.
the other person's problem, put them trying to walk in their shoes. Some people may think, you're dreaming here. It's impossible to have a world without war. It's impossible to have homes without violence. It's impossible to have a world without bullies, whether in classrooms or in social media. Would you say let's just give up, that we cannot do it? Or what do you say?
No, I wouldn't say that, and I don't want to agree with the with the fact that it is impossible. There is nothing that is impossible if you create room for. You know, right now I can say to you, it's impossible for me to speak on a radio, but everything has been made possible
By people who dreamed it.
by people who dreamt it, and here I am, and I'm talking on radio. You know, everything is possible.
Yes, because I want to also suggest to you that I think there's a country, one of the Arab countries, I can't remember what, they've got actually a ministry of love. And whenever the ministers introduce, people giggle. It's almost like we are embarrassed by love. We're embarrassed by compassion. We're embarrassed by showing feelings. We think we can leave feelings at home and then go out into the public, go to work, and somehow leave that there's no space in the public sphere for the soft things like love and compassion, and harmony. I think it's a very unfortunate position that we are in. Every time it's in the midst of love, and people stand up and they think, oh, it's almost like they think it's a joke. How can love be a joke?
And I think it's because it has been misrepresented or misinterpreted. There are many things that we are calling love that are not love, and hence the giggle that comes along with it. And yet, I will say, those people, from my Christian value point of view, they are actually doing what God is. God is love. He says his ministry is a ministry of love. So for that country to have a ministry of love, to me, I think they are doing a great job, because we need that. We desperately need that.
One of the things that is happening here at the Dow Academy, remember we are being, hosting this from the TDA tele radio station, is that they are trying to reimagine education. They're trying to reimagine instilling values that can take a child to greater heights, to be a better and accountable, responsible member of the community. Do you think that compassion can be preached, or do you think it has to be lived? I mean, how do you teach a child to be compassionate?
I think as a parent, you have to do it by example. If you do it at home, you teach them that, you have, like at home with Macharity. Macharity was an amazing woman, like I've said. And everybody that came from Tamaha, coming to Gaborone to look for a job, they will come to our house. And, I remember we used to put at night, or take the dining table chairs, put them on top, because some people have to go underneath the table to sleep there. And nobody was ever turned away. And maybe that is why charity is charity, because I've seen her, even a loaf of bread. We were so many, and no, everybody had to share that loaf of bread. And she instilled that in us, that now when we see somebody being greedy, being wanting to have that piece of bread by themselves, we get shocked. What? Who is this person? Why can they not share? So I think we can teach it
By living it.
by living it.
And giving is not just giving, you can be giving space, like you say. When you start, it could be giving your time, for example. It could be giving your talents, as some experts give talents, their time at the TDO Academy. And but how do we make it bigger than that? I mean, how do we make sure that it's not just a one-off? How do we make sure that these values are enduring in our children?
I think love cannot be a once-off thing. It's something that you nurture. It's something that you work on it on daily basis. And for it to grow, you need to water it every day. So being compassionate, you can't just be compassionate today and then tomorrow say, I've now changed
taking a
my
break.
mind. You have to commit and be consistent in what you are doing.
You know, I'll go back to COVID because I really think that in many ways it has really demanded that our humanity come to the fore. You know, and I've had calls from people who are, especially during the lockdown, people who had nothing to eat, literally. You know, I remember I reached out to your organization to assist with some of that. Do you think after COVID we'll go back to a greedy, selfish self? Or you hope that the world has learned enough to realize that, we're so interconnected that we cannot afford to shrink back to our spaces?
No, I don't think we'll go back.
Mm-hmm.
And COVID, yes, we have lost a lot of our dear ones, and it's a disease. And I'm going to say let's look at the good that COVID has done. There are some good, and like some famous people have said, don't let any crisis go to waste. And I think we shouldn't let this COVID go to waste. We should learn a lot of things out of it, and there is a lot that we have learned with this COVID, and I think it would be disastrous for us to go back to that selfish way of thinking. And this has taught us many lessons and valuable ones.
I think it's the first time ever, where I can almost be sure what somebody in Japan is doing right now, or in Egypt, or in a small village somewhere. That we are all washing our hands. We're all social distance. We're also careful. So if there was a time when the world was one, it is today. And it seems to me that, taking a cue from what you just said, that if there's a lesson that we must take away from this, it is that no person can do it alone.
Yes.
And no person is rich enough, powerful enough, influential enough to survive without connecting with the people around them. And poverty, for example, is one example. I would say is an example of the lack of compassion. The world can feed everybody. There's enough money, enough food, enough communication and delivery systems and logistical systems to actually make sure that every child on this earth eats and eats well. But still, we have millions and millions and millions of people in poverty. We have kids caught up in wars that they don't create. We've got people whose futures have been stolen. And once again, I would just suggest to you, take a cue from what you say, that is examples of the failure of compassion. That everybody is in their own corner. I think racism is an example of a failure of compassion, because you're othering the other person. They're different from you, and therefore they're lesser than you. So it seems to me that we need an education system, that says those values will destroy us. We need the value that, you can't survive if I die. And if I survive, and you die, then we both die, really. Would you agree with that?
I totally agree with you. And one of the things that I loved, especially during the lockdown, was the spirit of togetherness that we came to. And I think this is what describes us as Botswana. It took me back to the time of the university, building a university, whereby everybody was giving, a cow, and people were not saying, now my child will never go to a university, but they came together as a nation. And even during that time, we came together as a nation. People were looking after each other. People were calling on each other to check if you have food. Have you eaten? Have you checked so and so? I remember I knocked on my neighbors because I knew they were old couple. I knocked on their door. And I didn't know how they were, because you never greet each other or anything. I didn't know how they were going to receive me. But I just felt like, how are they doing it? That old couple, locked in that house. And I said to them, look, here is my number. If you need any help, I'm available. And I have, the fact that I was given a permit because of of what I do,
Yes.
to me, it was like, wow. Oh, I felt like a superstar. I was
You were a
knocking on
star.
doors telling people that I have a permit. So anytime you need something, just call on me. And that was good. And for us to turn back on that, I think will be a shame.
Thank you very much. Things that matter. Thank you very much. Things that matter. Lucy Butlokwa. Pilunomi, the gentle heart. We've got so many names for good hearts in my language. It must mean that anchoring this whole culture is the belief, the expectation that each one of us will give. Give something, give a time, give love, give food, give an ear. That's all that we need for this community, this village, this nation, this country, this continent, this world needs, that we understand that not one of us can survive on their own. Things that matter. Let's go for a break. When we come back, we'll conclude the segment talking about how those who give are often taken for granted, how those who give are often considered to be rich, and how sometimes those who give more for the glory of giving, but not for the value of giving. Thank you very much. See you in a minute.
By next Saturday, someone will be competing with us.
I'm thinking of I'm already thinking of episode 3 and 4.
All right.
So we'll discuss a little bit about being taken for granted as a giver, okay, and also maybe a little bit about the great expectations that if you give one, you expect to give two, and so always expected to give more, and how you must navigate this because you still have a family to feed, whatever. So how become generous without necessarily self denying? So to the extent that you can't even give anyone. Because anyway, I often think about the tithing type, the tithing system that is about giving 10% of what is extra, so that 90% you can grow on it. People think that you take 10% of their salary. I don't believe that. So my salary is not my profit. It's not my profit. If I give, if you earn 100 pula, 200 pula, and whatever, and you give 10% of your 100 pula, that's 10 pula. If I have a million pula, 10% of that is nothing, but for you it's everything. So it has to be about 10% of the extra that you are sharing, because once you fed your family to the normal level, then you get 100 pula, then you can give 10 pula, so that 90 pula can make more, so next time you can actually give even more. So people, so for me, it's that when generosity doesn't mean self-denying to the extent that you are unable to give any more.
And philanthropy is based on that, huh?
Yeah.
You find that people who give tend to be given more. They end up giving more on top of that.
All right, let's come back to the third segment. We can try and keep it to 5 minutes.
Or less than 5. Okay, 5 minutes?
About,
5 minutes? Okay. Okay, I don't have a watch. We need a watch.
Yeah.
Or even at here.
A counter on the screen, on the desk, but we'll do that.
Just so that I can see, because I don't know how far I've gone and I'm worried.
We'll get a counter.
All right, no problem. Or behind where the camera is.
Yes.
Yeah. All right.
All right. Rolling in 3, 2, 1, action.
Welcome back to Things That Matter. We're talking about compassion, and we're talking to Mrs. Charity Hiscox. Madam, welcome back to to the program.
Thank you.
We're talking about compassion. And can we explore the issue of being taken for granted? Because often givers, um, they're fatigued
Mm.
because it is a job. I mean, something that needs time and resources and management and investment.
Mm.
So tell me about that. Do you ever feel like you're being taken for granted by the people or some of the people that you have?
Yes, like you said, in every situation, there is the good, the bad, and the ugly. They are those that will come, not necessarily that they need, but because for their own selfish reasons. So I think in that situation, you have to strike a balance. And if you don't have, you don't have. Be honest that I can't give you, I do not have. Because sometimes the story, or the, I don't want to call it a story, but the situation that is being relayed to you, it's so emotionally, nerving, that you can't just walk away from it. And if you don't make any promise that you cannot keep, and make sure that if you say I will help, you help. And if you can't help, it's okay not to help. You don't beat yourself up and say I haven't helped. It's okay not to be able to help, because you still have to protect your space as well.
And another thing is that there's this idea that only the rich can give. Is that correct?
No, I think giving is a principle that is there for everybody. And if you want to be rich, I think you should give, because that's where your richness will come from. So don't wait until you are rich and say, I will give when I'm rich. For you to go in the success ladder, give.
And compassion is also not just about giving, it's about how you see other people. It's
Yes.
about um, what you say to other people. It's about how you respond to people, how would you agree? Because often people think about it, if it's compassion is about giving, you know, um, but a compassionate leader is one who listens, for example. A compassionate preacher is one who does not take the stories of the congregation and fling them into their faces. So compassion is more than just about giving. It's a way of life. Would you agree with me on that?
Yes, compassion can be just even giving somebody a lift. They don't have money for combi after work, and you give them a lift. Or that child that joins your organization, and you say, you know what, I'm going to give to this child. I'm going to nurture her to make sure that she will. I see potential in her, and I'm going to help.
Compassion, it can also be the words you use or you don't use.
Yes.
How you communicate, how you carry yourself. Would you say that?
Definitely. It's let's say, for an example, I have kids at the center, and because of the relationship that I've built with them, they are able to say to me when they see me, can I see you in your office, please? I want to talk to you. And this is a standard 3 child, and he's asking me, because they know that when they come and sit down, I will listen, I will give them my time. And sometimes you can see that there is no problem. They just wanted my time. And he's just telling me about her friends, how the teacher said she should cover her book and nobody is covering her book. Can we cover my books today? And we haven't seen you for days. Where have you been? Things like that. And am I contributing to that child's life? I would say definitely. I am, but it might not be materially, but by sitting down with her, showing her that love that she might not even get that attention, but she knows she can come and get the attention from me.
Well, thank you very much, Mrs. Hiscox, and continue with the great work. I'm sure you say you are in Buka, in just outside Muchuli, but I believe your reach is much more beyond that. I know that people call you send you text messages. Sometimes they need counseling and you prefer to other people to do that. Sometimes they actually need actual food. So I think we need more people like you. And I also want to maybe end this by acknowledging that many people across the world do on a daily basis live the values of compassion. They may not come on television to show a check with $500,000 on it, but they give somebody, a child next door, a pair of shoes. They may not, they say kind words to each other. They mediate, when there are conflicts. So there are compassion actors out there. It is the small people often who bridge our peace at family level, community level, and world level. They say, how can we, over time, it's a big question. I'm putting it out there into the universe. How can we make sure that the minority of people on this earth who continuously breach our peace at personal level, at community level, at global level, who send us to wars, who are unable to help us feed, those poor kids who have nothing to eat. How can we shrink that space? How can we shrink the space, of those who breach our peace? With that, again, I'm saying it's a question I'm giving to the universe. With that, thank you very much. At the end of the show, things that matter, we're talking about compassion and the belief that the world is held together by compassion. The world is held together by compassion. There are those who continuously act to breach that, but the majority of the people on this earth continue to make sure that that value lives. And to those people, we say thank you and continue with the good work. And at the end of the show, my name is Unity Dow. Join me again next Monday at 10:30 on this show, Things That Matter. Brought to you by TDA Teleradio. See you next week.
Perfect. Don't worry, you couldn't hear me, but the mic couldn't pick me up. That was good. I was trying to make sure you say that.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Round of applause! Yeah!
Oh my
Just
God.
okay, well, let me take a picture of both of you standing there.
Standing?
Just in front of her.
The banner. I don't know about my standing. I don't do what they do.
Yeah!
Back to back.
Back to
Back.
back.
Yeah, that's right.
Just hold. Can I get some light? Can we turn that line towards them, please? Alright. I wanna do all these things in there so that gives me.
Is it good? How should I keep on?
Sorry. Yeah, just okay, wait, another one. Just pull it back. Yeah. That's all right. That's perfect. Sorry, let me take another one. Okay. That's good. That's really good. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Sam.
Thank you.
Oh my God. Ian,
Yes, ma'am.
we'll give you a new job. We didn't know.
Creating employment.